Oh, well, hey, folks, what's up? Let me try adjusting the camera here a little bit so you can see. It's not quite in. Let's go a little bit like this then. Take away my spot to sit. That's a little bit more square. And I guess I just get to pop a squat right here. Ba-ba-bum. Nothing in this house is square or straight, especially me. So, as you can see, there's a bit more on the bike compared to where there was, what was that, Tuesday? No, today's Friday, so that would have been Wednesday when you would have last seen me live. I got the wheels and tires on and in. They look good. It feels pretty nice and balanced, but of course it doesn't have the group set fully on it yet. Brakes aren't on yet. Cables and everything like that aren't run yet, but I can't really run that unless all of the stuff is in, technically. But we can go through and double check some stuff and shine a light in places and see where cables are out, because this frame didn't come with any sort of build manual or anything like that. If you want to go back and watch through Wednesday's stream where I blathered for a bit, that is now linked in a playlist where all of the videos that I make about this bike, whether it's streams off of the laptop down here in the bike cave, or like phone streams or whatever, just out on a ride in case I get smeared by a pickup truck, or, any other sort of thing like that. Maybe I'll be able to get some editing software together for some of the sort of like phone clips and stuff like that that I've been like going around with, and pictures and stuff like that. They're way better quality camera on my phone than my laptop, so all that fun. But there will not be any sort of writing today because the rear hub on this bike, this wheel set, a little bit about them. If I remember correctly, yep. So these are the Mercury M1 or H1? M1. So they are a 700C rim brake bike, or rim brake clincher. They are technically a tubeless compatible profile, but they don't come set up for tubeless. And also, they do have a couple little finishing marks and stuff like that along the rim bed for where the spokes come down through that could probably be finished a little bit better, but they're, as far as I can tell, a discontinued wheel set that I got new old stock, which is part of why I was able to pick them up for less than a set of Shimano Tiager hubs with 32 DT Swiss spokes laced to a Mavic CXP 22, which would be heavier, slower rolling, have a shallower profile, as well as a narrower bead seat width, internal rim width. That's the correct one there. So, yeah. As it stands, these are a 20 millimeter listed internal. I have them fit with Panaracer Agilist TLRs that are not set up tubeless. I ordered the clinchers, and this was just one of the things that you have to deal with supply chains when your country decides to secede from the world, is bike shops where you get your parts from, even if locally, even if you're doing mail order to pick up in person, or ordering from, one county over because you can't get a ride over there because your other bike that you would have ridden to pick them up can't be ridden outside because the chainstay is broken. So you got to rely on mail order. So, that's a thing. So yeah, because they only have the TLRs in stock because nobody's running clinchers anymore, I got sent a pair of TLRs, and it was a faff to try and put those on without a tire jack. So I do have some tools coming that are going to help put everything together for final assembly and everything like that. I'm just trying to make sure that I do the shit right the first time, so I'm not having to redo it again in 6 months like I had to do with the touring bike that's in the background there, which is also why I left quite a bit more stack height up here than I calculated myself to need to be, because I don't actually know how my ass is going to get along with this shorter wheelbase quite yet. I know this distance and roughly this distance, going off of the geometry charts, are roughly equivalent in regards to the highest that I ever had that one set up, as well as it being this way shorter than the longest I ever had that one set up, which was a pain last summer. If any of you saw any of my complaints about how horrendous my migraines were before I got COVID last summer, that was almost entirely to do with having way too long of reach. That bike over there has a 56 centimeter top tube, parallel seat tube and fork, both about 73 degrees. Really deep offset on the seat post. So it way slams your ass back behind the bottom bracket. But then it's got this super stubby little 60 millimeter stem on there. So it's not a long bike, but it's a really long bike. And I don't necessarily like how a short stem with a really low handlebar handles. Short stem with a big high handlebar? Sure, that's fine. Like if it's got, bay bars or something like on a 3-speed cruiser, sure, like upright, it makes sense. But down on the hoods or down in the drops, when you've got for a handlebar width, that just gets not fun. I like narrow handlebars. They're comfortable. They're more comfortable because you don't get way wide. You don't get weird pressure points right here coming through this little channel on your palm where you got all sorts of nerves and blood vessels and stuff, and then they get all tingly and crampy, and you start doing a death grip, and your elbows and shoulders lock up, and then you don't have a neck anymore. Bike fit is important. So basically, I tried to copy my saddle to bar position as much as possible. And then knowing how that other bike handled, looked for a frame that would get me more towards the range of where I wanted to be in regards to how I like my fast bikes to feel underneath me. So this is kind of a general all-rounder, not really a race bike, but it is definitely more performance-oriented. Like I said before, it's got a pretty steep seat tube. In this size, it is a 74.5 degree, if I remember the geometry chart off the top of my head, with a 15 millimeter offset up top on the seat post. Chain stays are 410 millimeter, regardless of size. Then total wheelbase, I want to say it was something about 970 millimeters, which is 7 centimeters shorter wheelbase than my old bike. They moved. Essentially, what I did in regards to my fit was I went like this, and I pushed everything back. That wasn't in frame. I went like this from the front axle and went with it. Left as much up here in the same place as I could. When I get it down on the ground, I'm going to do my best to get the notch here, which is about where my sit bones end up, in about the same place compared to the front edge of the tire, so that my ass is in the roughly same space as on the other bike, because I liked that bit of where the bike felt underneath me in regards to the back end. What I didn't like about the back end was just how far out in front of me my feet were. Because the thing with bike fit is, even as tall as that bike is, it's still got a pretty low head tube, which means you got to get low. And when you got to get low, well, easiest way for me to show you. So you're over about 45 degrees or whatever where you're wanting to be core-wise. Let's go this way. So over, and you come up. The more you come up, the more you have to come up, depending on how long your cranks are. You can start running out of room here, which gets very painful kind of quickly. Can also cause all sorts of knee problems and stuff like that. So I'm kind of disabled. If you follow me on Blue Sky, you might know about this. I talk about how many times I've been hit by cars. I've talked about how many car accidents I've been in. I've talked about getting flung into trees down frozen hills by my dad because boomer logic. I don't know what was wrong with that man, but he sure did love slinging me down a hill, thinking that it would be fun for me to go sledding. When I wanted to go sledding, yeah, on a toboggan, because you can steer those. Oh, well, why didn't you jump? You told me not to let go! What did you think was going to happen? But anyway, I digress. I wanted it to be shorter. I wanted my bottom bracket further back. I didn't want to move my saddle too far forward because I liked how the back end felt otherwise, but I didn't like just how long the front end was on the other bike. It has an obscene amount of offset in that fork. This one is still a little bit close to the same dimensions, at least from here at the top center of the headset to down here at the axle. Basically what they did was, instead of having it be steeper with a higher offset, they raked it out and lowered the offset. Where would that be? About like that. So instead of it being here and here, it's more here. Wibbly wobbly. Lower offset, higher rake. So same dimension here, but shorter top tube and shorter front center. Bottom bracket is also just a little bit, if I remember right, a little bit lower as well. So even though they both have about 135 millimeters, if I remember correctly, or something more like 140 millimeters from the crown race to the top of the headset, the fork on this one is just straight up looking across. We've got 2 fingers from the top of a 28 to the crown race, and let's just bring it over and show you. Careful we don't knock it over. Much more room. Way much more room. That is 3 fingers to the crown race from the top of a 28. So Let's pull this one back. Let's not knock everything over. And let's stick some parts on. And I suppose, might as well, show my banana for scale. Ooh, that's a little crunchy on the bottom. So, you can see the fork is roughly 2 bananas tall. The head tube is about 2/3 bananas tall. And I have a roughly 1/2 banana stem. Americans literally will use anything but the metric system. All right. Now that that little goofy ass monkey brain autistic moment is done with, I'm just going to imagine coasting this down Brandywine Park, coming through, hoping that it hasn't been too rainy, hoping that there isn't anyone walking around, and just smashing it as much as I can up those cobblestones on Monkey Hill. Next spring, for damn sure. I'm serious about it this year. I've been saying that I was going to go do that for the last 3 years that I've lived down here in Delaware. I haven't done it yet. So I'm going to do it. For real this time. All right. Let's put some parts on. I spent all this time cleaning off the desk. And I didn't get the parts out that I was going to be putting on today. Shocker, I must have attention deficit disorder or something. Okay. What's that? Ah, there we go. Okay, good. So one thing that I had been worried about, I couldn't find this on Wednesday, so I kind of got exasperated after I measured everything out. This is a 27.2 millimeter seat post, and it comes with, if I remember correctly, it is a standard 31.8 millimeter clamp up top as well. It's a nice little lightning hole on it there up top, engraved on both sides. Furniture is actually really nice, but I'm not surprised that it is nice furniture given who it's from. Because I've been running on parts from this company for as long as I've been riding bikes, damn near. So, huge to Caloi Uno. They're a Taiwan-based bike part company. They mainly do seat posts, bars, and stems. If you're going to do one thing, do it well. And they do alloy parts pretty well. This is not sponsored. This is just, I've been using them off and on for over 25 years at this point, and I've never had a problem with them that wasn't my own fault or the result of an accident. So, but yeah, when I was going through buying group set components, I did not know if the frame that I was going to be getting was going to have a front derailleur mount on it or not. So, because I had ordered all of my group set components first, I did not buy a front derailleur that had a clamp on it. Just in case, I bought a frame that did have a clamp on it. Of course, I ended up going with the R1 here, which does not have a clamp on it because, as it turns out, they actually do have a version that has one by on it with rim brakes. And funnier still, it's actually an electronic group set. Wheeltop EDX. GDX. Wheeltop is another Chinese manufacturer. They do group sets. Primarily, they do electronic group sets. And if you remember how Shimano used to have 10 and 11 and 12 speed, Di2 shifting, but then with mechanical rim brakes, Wheeltop has a version that is kind of like that, but also kind of like SRAM's version because they have the battery built into the derailleur as opposed to like Shimano, where you run a cable through up into your seat tube or down tube that holds the battery, unless you're looking at the new electronic mountain bike or the new electronic road or electronic gravel / road 1 GRX, which has the battery in the derailleur. Technological advancement always happens, no matter what you do. Doesn't matter if it's a slow march over generations or just obscenely fast changes within the span of not even half a lifetime. But some things don't change. Some of the standards on this bike have been around for literal centuries. Well, I can't say centuries plural just yet, but over a century at least. So we could do general bike history stuff, but at the same time, I said I was going to look how I need to run those cables for the bottom, around the bottom bracket. That's just get a light. Ba, ba, ba. Shake my phone, turn on the flashlight. Oh, one minor detail that I absolutely love about this bike, it has a finished head tube badge, a proper head tube badge. I love bikes with head tube badges. They're awesome. It is unfortunate that this frame set only comes in 3 colors. This warm, kind of muted, heavy sparkle silver, which is kind of cool. They got a nice rainbow iridescent effect on the chrome decals, which are just all over. Let's see, let's double check down here on the down tube. They got a badge. It says it is made out of 6061 aluminum, T4 and T6, and yes, it is heat treated, which is nice to see because that's one thing that the old Walmart alloy bikes that I grew up on when I was in middle school did not have any sort of heat treating on the mass-produced welds that they had, which were far uglier than these, and they tended to fall apart because of brittleness around the welding, because they weren't heat treated to anneal the differential cooling and stuff like that from the welding. So, it's nice to see that. They also did a lot of smoothing of the welds around the head tube junction and the fork junction, and along the seat tube, top tube, and seat stay junctions. with the dropouts, bottom bracket junction, frame brace junction, brake stay at the rear, and the underside of the fork crown. None of those welds are finished. And they actually look really nice. They're nice, not super fat, but smooth and chunky, neat stacked dimes. But I can't tell just how perfect they are through, this pretty awesome paint. It is a very nice color. All right. So that pops out. That one is cast in straight through. Cast in straight through. And that one has a little key on it. All right. So, going through and double checking everything, we've got some itty bitty little cover screws in 1 and 2 for the rear brake and the shifter cables coming out just ahead of the bottom bracket. There's a cable stop here and a cable stop here. So it is not fully jacketed cable, but in regards to the cable runs on both sides, they're all the way through. And because of those gates, it should be a little bit easier to fish everything through. So, time to readjust where I have everything clamped so I can spin it around and get at those tiny screws. Yep, all right. So first things first, let's pop this off. We'll let that lay over a second. Also, if you hear neighbors' music coming through, somebody's having a party. Cool for them. Ooh, that is light. Oh, that feels nice. How close to straight on did I get that? I didn't do half bad. Nice. Let's go this way. Out of all of the tools that I've bought so far, I think this one is probably $50 well spent. Oh, can I be cheeky? Can I do that? Oh, I can't get it low enough. No, it wants to roll. Damn it. Oh well. All the way over we go. Wow. Hold on. Ugh. I'm trying to. Why aren't you coming around? I swear I'm a professional. All right, we're just going to lay that there for a second. Show you off the non-drive side. I'll pop these wheels back out. We don't need them for now. And my hat fell off, and I'm showing off my unfortunate hairline. That sucks. Let's get that back on. Boom. Boom. Got a little QC pass sticker. That is on top of the clear coat. That is dated 6/3/42 on the end of the run. So neat, I guess. There is just barely enough space to maybe get a little M5 in there if you have fenders that have a little clip on for here, but it is not properly set up for fenders. So if you are going to be putting fenders on one of these, like I plan on doing, you're going to have to get clamp-on fenders, and they can be a little bit fun to try and find that still work with rim brakes. They are out there. Just a little bit difficult to find sometimes. So for now, let's see how big that is. I want to say that is 2.5. Mark 1 human eyeball. Actually, I should say Mark 1 human eyeball mod 0. All right, so that cover comes off. That is the one for the bottom of the down tube. So that's got 2 4mm holes in it. And this one here, ooh, I'm not sure I like this one. Yeah, I am not sure I like that one. If you would like to know why I don't quite like that one, so you can see on the block where the hole for the yeah, it looks like I might be able to get it in without really cranking the cable over, but at the same time, it might be interesting trying to fit that one without a internal routing cable kit. That one is the top rear brake, because rim brake, and hopefully I didn't lose that. Good, I didn't lose that. Hey, Joseph. Hopefully the dry fit finishes up here soon. Put those together. Where did I stick those cables? Got my roll of 4mm and got my roll of 5mm. These are both just generic cables. Splurged a little bit on my actual cables. Got stainless steel for those because I like cables that last and just the regular ones don't. And because the shifters are going to be easiest, let's just start there. Interesting feeling. Yes, we will need cable ends on that. And that. So 1, 2, 3. That one doesn't. Where'd my derailleur go? In regards to what derailleurs I'm running, like I said before, probably I'm running 10-speed rim brake Tiagra. So that is final generation Tiagra. If I am reading what I am reading about drop bar cues right. So that's going to be 4mm cable ends. And then I haven't gotten up there yet. I'm not worried about up there yet because I'm worried about right here. For now, on this first one. I had one that was more hooked than that. Where'd you go? Lost it. Okay. Where'd I put my phone? Because I'm going to need my flashlight. You find a thing, you use the thing, you lose the thing. That seems to be the way things go around here. Not under the group set. It was under the cables. That's not going to work. Pocket. That is what chest pockets are for. Wow. Oop, lost it. Aha. So that can go to either one of the front two. Pull out a little bit of tape just to hold the cables in place while I'm getting everything moved around and roughly measured up. Because I am a professional and I know what I am doing. This is not my first bike build. This is just my first all-new bike build. Most of the bikes that I have built in my life have been old. Granted, this is about the oldest new bike I could find. Does that make sense? So we've got that roughed in. It is already going off that way. We are actually going to need this. So let's get that clamped up quick. We're just going to be easier to do it on this side than that side. So let's do that then. Why did I take this off in the first place? I think that made my fight to get this in position all the harder. It's just something that happens. Okay, let's whip that for a second. That way a little bit more. Clamp that a little bit tighter so it doesn't try and wiggle around on us. And lock that in place down here for now. Yep, whatever. Oh, that's so much easier to do. Remember, folks, sometimes it's easier to do it like they do in the videos on YouTube. Shout out to Andy Q, who decided to turn his bike shop into basically just a retro grouch studio. I get it. Wow, this thing is really slipping now. I still wanted that off so I could measure shit. 'Cause I gotta go in here. Which one is the gear and which one is the brake? Top one is gear. So one thing that's going to be fun when I get this down on the ground with the wheels and everything on proper, before I do bar tape, because bar tape is probably going to be the last job on this bike. Gonna be nice and loose now. That nice and loose now. Is that definitely nice and loose now? All right. Yeah, we're just going to take these old gloves as a hack for now. Well, just try it's gonna go easier that way. Just looking at a spot to get these on where I can hit the Velcro and get enough of the glove up where I'm not smacking the bars into my top tube while I'm fitting everything else up. Yeah, there we go. We do not want to crack or dent our brand new top tube. That would make us what you call very sad. All right, so we're going that way. So we want for them to come around. They'll go in tight. And how far in does that go? Not that far at all. Okay, let's see. Goes in that tin right. Or am I going to have to go digging? I think I'm going to have to go digging. I might have pulled them out. One, two, three, four, five, six. All right. Cool. I have 6 cable ends that I hope are the right size cable ends. Let's double check if those are 4 mil or 5 mil. Sloppy. Five millimeter brake line. Outer, of course. And that's tight. So that is those plastic ends that I have are for brakes, not shifters. This is why this series is dry fitting everything, not actually fully final assembling everything. Because as much as I have a little stash of parts and tools and stuff like that, there's a lot of parts and tools that I don't have in my stash. That said, where do you go? Oh, I missed you so. One of my favorite tools. It's a new bike day tool, or at least a big heavy maintenance tool. I'm going to chop that one. Right about there. That's a pretty good cut. These clippers are YC787 bike hand clippers. I want to say that I picked these up for something like $10 5 years ago. I have cabled 7 bikes now with them, and the fact that they are still sharp, and not just sharp, but like, yeah. So, horrible camera here, so I don't know why I'm showing this, but here's the factory end, and that's all like brown and nasty on the inside. So, like, as good as the cut of the factory cut is, like square wise, cheap tool, other end of the cable, and it is bright and shining silver. It is square. It is barely deformed at all. These are some good clippers for the money, if they still make them like they used to. Plenty of line left there still. Just give that a little wiggle. And then let's go over the top. Okay. All right. I was wrong. Brake goes over. Cable goes over the top. All right. So that goes there. No bar spins for this bike. Let's take that off the back quick. Wow. Here's what we'll do for that while we get it in. This up. Up we go. No need to hang out on the floor when you have a lift. We can rotate so that it is mostly in camera. This lighting is horrible. I'm sorry, folks. Let's see if I can get it going where it's not glaring horribly. As you can see, we're coming through up here. This one is supposed to be taped there, but it came apart. That's going into the back. Do I still have enough line? I still have enough line. So let's stick that down again. Let's grab our 4mm again. Again, we're coming through and head tube, run it down the bottom. Double check how long I need before it's at the bottom. In. Sometimes you still need to crouch down a little bit. I think I'm actually going to need. Whoop. Some cable jobs are real nice and easy. That was so quick. All right. About the same. Not spectacularly worried about that, but One thing that I... What? Backwards. One thing that I may later regret not immediately purchasing are some down tube cable foamies. I have no idea where that nut went. Shite. Yeah, great. Ah, cool, it didn't run far. So I may regret not getting cable foamy or down tube cable foamies for internal cabling right away, but I'm not particularly worried about it. A little bit of rattle is a little bit of rattle. There's always going to be a little bit of noise. But we'll see how I feel after a bit of riding. See if I still like that noise. It's probably always going to have a little bit of rattle, but that's probably not that bad. It's definitely going to be quieter than any Walmart bike I ever had before. A little bit looser. Can I have my bike, please? Not clamped, just held. Not clamped, just held. Oh, cool. And it is nice and tall. So we can come around here. Try and match that sort of same curvature there. We're going to need a little bit of ugliness there because of how tight that radius is. So all the way around there. And this one is also going to be fun because this is the front derailleur side. So that's going to need to have room for an inline barrel adjuster. First bike I'm going to have that's had one of those. And pinching there, how is it when you come out here? It hits the head tube. So can I... Okay. in their quest to hide cables, instead of just having a slot here that drops in down there, and then, doing the old school thing that, you used to do with the Shimano STI shifters, where you drop, or where your front comes through on the rear side and your rear side comes through on your back side or off side. And I am probably not going to be happy with the way this bike shifts the front because of how the cable gets routed. But we can get a little bit cheeky. As that's in place. That's going to go down there. We can yeah, that's how we're going to do that. For now, at least. Fun trick for temporary installs. Take your zip tie, put it in backwards. There's still enough tension for it to hold itself closed, but you can just pull it apart. And that way you don't have to worry about wasting a zip tie for getting things roughly into place. For doing everything else. That through the glove for this moment. Hold that about there, and where did I stick my snips? That leaves us with, well, more than enough to do our rear loop when we get the rear derailleur on. This 4mm cable housing. But that's way more than enough. Where is it? Yeah. What I am going to do is get at least the corners there taped on both sides. And I'm going to trim that. There you are. Couple quick turns, just up. Nice and tight. Oh, come on. There we go. One. And now I'm at it. We will go this way. Another loop here, just for right now. To roughly hold in for when I get my cables run for the brakes. Brake cable time. Where did I just stick the 5mm cable? Over there. Which kind of seems like the perfect time to at least get the brake cables on, or brakes on. So let's do that quick. One here. So this is our front. What size are you? 5mm. 5mm. Feels like there's Loctite on here from the factory. And yeah, there's a little bit of Loctite on there from the factory as I drop the nut. Something, this is why we can't have nice things. It's just a regular washer at the front. Regular Shimano Tiagra 4700 road caliper. Not at all centered at the moment. but we'll work on that. Get that on for now. Let's grab our rear brake. With its loose pads that are 4.5 mil. Nope, that was another 5. Was up straight 4? What that is? 4.5 for sure. But a 4 is enough to get it to stop wiggling, which is all I was after at the moment. Break that factory Loctite. Shimano white stuff. So I do have a bottle of the stuff as well, which I'm going to probably be doing at least touching some of the bolts on here with. They're not bolts, fasteners, machine screws. That's what they call them. Apparently it is a thing of size that differentiates a bolt from a fastener. And if you're wondering about color combo, no, they are not the same gray. They are not even close to the same gray. Drop my wrench again. Tiagra definitely has a very strong blue to its gray, whereas the Tsunami, I think it's smoke silver that they call this color. It's very warm. It's got hints of bronze in there. Like there's like when it comes to the sparkle effect through it, very much so has a lot of goldiness to it. So even with the down here, the Tiagra caliper almost looks like it's black, but it's not. It's blue, blue-gray, like a porpoise. We like weird mammals. Weird mammals are cool. Leave a thumbs up if you're a weird mammal. All right, let's roll up the 4mm cable for now because we're not doing our derailleurs just yet, because those have to wait for a couple of things. Although we are going to be getting the front one on today, the rear one's not going on today. I have decided that much. But poofed, popped. Easiest brake cable to run on any bike is going to be your front. Doesn't matter which side it's on. However, we're not starting at the front because we're doing the hardest stuff first in regards to stuff that we can do today. So that barrel adjuster on the rear is all the way in. I like to start there because then if I need to take it out, I can take it out. Okay. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to cut from the back. I'm going to run it through to the front. How am I going to tilt this so that I can get at that? That works. Now I am on this side. I'm going to move that one up to there. Am I up there already? Oh. Aha, I am. Cool. Nice. I can use my frame to my advantage. All right, that's through. Now, here's the fun question. Where did I just stick that tiny one? There it is. Attention deficit disorder can be both a superpower and a curse, it turns out. Oh. Sure, you can do 37 tasks at once. But can you remember where you put anything? Most of the time I can't. Does that allow me enough room to get in there around the back side of it with the tool? No. Because I got the compressionless. So it's stiffer. So it doesn't like to bend. Oh yeah. So I'm going to have to get inventive with the Dremel real quick. Where did I stick that mask? And where did I stick the Dremel? So these are things that pop up even with like name brand big box bikes. And when I say big box bikes, I'm talking like Trek Specialized, Cannondale Canyon, Giant, literally name a bike manufacturer. When you're building it up, you're probably going to run into something like this. Let's grab our double cut because this is aluminum. Actually, no, because it's aluminum, we should go with steel. Straight cut. Double cut's better for steel. Straight cut's better for wood and aluminum. That one's not much more than 5 mil, right? Ba-ba-ba-boom. Easiest way for me to check that. Okay. Do not go past that. Would the ball be better? Is the ball that big? Oh, the ball is, that is a 6 millimeter ball end. Okay. I'm trying to decide which cutting head to use. And it feels like I'm going to go with this just regular 6mm ball. Set that down quick. That's battery. 3 bars. And where did the mask go? There it is. All right, okay. Found the hooked one that I was looking for. And we just opened that up about 1mm or 2 at the bottom there. Didn't really push in too deep. Just wanted to pull out the edge of it a little bit so I could bring the cable out a little bit more on an angle when I go to put it all together. And good, those are still over there. Do I have enough wobble now? No, I do not have enough wobble now. I need to take that back further. I don't understand why that would be so deep. It doesn't need to be that deep. It makes it more difficult to put the cable on. Why would you shape it like that? I think, though, I'm going to keep the ball end, but go for a long boy. Okay. And because this might take a second, I'm just going to stick it in the ice for a couple of seconds. And I'm going to move all of my cycling laundry over to the washing machine. Because I need to do that. Because for some reason, I had it over where the bunch rice is. Do, do, do. All right. All right. Let's see if that was enough glitter. As you can see, what I did was I went through, I rounded off that back heel there. I brought it down a little bit deeper, basically just enough that I had a straight shot through along the top on the tool, roughly 90 degrees to the thing, just to see if that opens up a little bit more. I don't want to take it all the way back, but I will take it back as bit by bit. Until I could easily get that tool in. Which I think I have just enough room to do. Nice. So let's drop that through. Drop that through. Get the tool in right away. And slide that cable on through. Might have to do a little bit of wiggling. I am definitely going to need the ball end for that one. So we grab the ball end. Wow. To answer the question, did this bike come with any tools for assembly? No, it did not. Tools that you will need for assembly on this bike include, but are not limited to, let's see, we got 4mm, 5mm, 2.5mm, and I want to say you're also going to need tools for BSA bottom brackets. So whether that is a square taper bottom bracket or, in my case, a 24mm Shimano Holotech 2 bottom bracket tool, because again, Shimano Tiagra 10-speed build with a standard Shimano bottom bracket. And if you're building up at home, you're also going to need something to cut your steer tube with. If it is the aluminum fork version, which are most of them, the black version is the only version that comes with a carbon fiber fork for this frame. The other black frame and the gray frame and the white frame, which are the 3 color combos for this frame, all have full aluminum construction. So yeah, that is something that you're going to have to do with, I was supposed to just slide it back a little bit, wasn't I, without popping it all the way through like I just did. Great. Don't round out on me now, please. please. All right, let's go up a little bit higher. Wow. So I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. I'm not even engaging with that, am I? Fuck. Glad I got an OtterBox. That one's too small. Okay, what size are you then? Butterfingers. Absolute butterfingers. Okay. Okay. Let's look to the side again. Cable goes in, cable comes through. Cable goes only in as far as the tool. Whoa. That is horrifically bad lighting. Horrifically difficult lighting. I am literally dropping everything. Okay, so if I turn that, I can rest that here. Pick that back up. Hopefully I have just enough room to get in here without everything coming apart on me. I'm going to hold that together as I bring this down and in. I'll do that without scratching my paint. Oh. Okay. then righty tighty, lefty loosey. Cable stops in. Okay, I didn't have to fiddle around with getting that bent at all. I just had to actually put it in right. I feel a little bit dumb, but hey, call it drillium. We like drillium on rim brake bikes. And of course, cable outer. Getting a little bit scratched up as a result of that because I didn't quite get everything perfectly filed, but I am literally not worried about absolutely perfect surface finish on the cable guides. Because this isn't like a customer bike or anything like that. This is literally just me wanting a new road bike and not having literally any of the tools to properly build up a disc brake bike. I'm sorry for everything being so janky and all over the place. I swear I'm some sort of professional. If you can't tell, I am making fun of myself. All right. Now we can work on getting that one around to the front end. That is for rear brake, so that's coming to this side. So we don't want that coming out behind that. We want that coming out above that. A little bit. A little bit more through. That looks like it's probably going to be more than enough. Unlike this one. Now, it's going to come through this way, that way. I do not like how that end is cut. So I'm going to cut and trim that end, get it plugged into the back of the shifter, or rather brake lever, because this one's brake lever. I have it set at max steering angle. I have it set about as tall as I'm ever going to have it set, most likely. So I might end up shortening lines, but if and when I do that, I'm going to do that down at the cable stops as opposed to up here at the shifters. If I do it up here at the shifters, well, I'm still building everything up, then, well, that's going to be more annoying to try and fix up after doing bar tape and everything. And I don't know, I think the bar tape job that I'm going to be doing on this bike is pretty cool, even if it's nothing fancy. So you go in the back here. I'll go in the back here, underneath the shifter. I would not be surprised if I actually have these backwards. Oh no, I literally can't have those backwards. It is this way, over the top, or under. And I think those are actually going to be easier to go if I go over the back. So I'm going to real quick flip what side my shifter outers or derailleur cable outers are coming through on, and I'll stick those underneath my palm around the back. If it will go in. There we go. Oh, no, I don't like how that goes. We are going under bar. That is under. Da, da, da. Let's peel this piece and we'll get another piece cut quick. We're doing this side. And then looking at the time, I think I am probably pretty shortly here. Going to be heading off and hitting up a couple of educational websites, specifically YouTube. And if you joke or if you laugh at that thought and notion, specifically going to be going over and pulling up some assembly videos and stuff like that from the fine folks over at Park Tool Company up in Minnesota. Ayo, Midwest. Okay, so that is really twisting on that. And we need a little bit more. I have a feeling that this bike is supposed to be cabled for right-hand rear. Why did I plumb that into the left-hand shifter? Think about things as you're putting them together. Measure twice, and cut once. What other boomerisms can I throw in here today? Shit. Also, this is why we dry fit before we do a final assembly. That to come in under the shifter. Let's slide this back there. Just go like that for now. I'm going to have to actually use a cinch. But if you have a little pick, if you do go to use your zip tie as a lock and pull, do not cut that when you're just doing a dry fit. You can pull this back, drop your pick in underneath to release the tab, and then you can pull it apart. So keep that accessible. Try and get everything in where you want it without everything going all over everywhere. You can almost do it. I think I'm going to have to put a cable end on that. Just check this one on that side. Yeah, that's roughly the right size. That should keep it from flipping back out. That is not the proper one where it's got the little doohickey off the end that Shimano uses. So that is another little bit that I'm going to have to get ordered up before final assembly. Okay, come on. Come on now. Come on now. There we go. Let's get that shoved over as tight and in there as we can get that. Okay. And around we go. Okay. Slide that one on the other side. Keep these together, and we will go just to where it starts to ramp up and flare out towards the end. And that is actually where I'm going to mark for the end of my bar tape wrap. Or rather, I should say, start my bar tape wrap, given which wrap I'm going to do. Okay. Okay. I actually need to go tighter on that. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. That's that one. All right. I will say this as well. One nice thing about narrow bars, these are 38s, is some of them you only need to tape in 2 spots. That's nice. Rotate this a little bit. Rotate this a little bit. And rotate this a little bit. All right. Got all right, so that is 90 and all right, that's gonna contact. All right, so that is about as clear as that's gonna get. Come back around on this side. That's really easy. Just line it up with where the brake adjuster is. Go a little bit long to try and get that straight in. A tiny bit longer than that. Clip it. Shout outs to part suppliers that made this build possible. Oh, I did not get that one square at all. Shout out to part suppliers that I used for this build. Got 365 bikes, Send It bikes, the fine folks at Mercury Wheels, or at least whoever bought up all of their old stock. I really hope that I didn't completely wreck that section of cable. Let's grab. That's shifter. That's brake. All right, so we're just going to pull one of these brake cables out to do a little thing with quick. And basically, as with everything, the more you buy at once, the cheaper it becomes. I figured I mostly like road bikes, so I bought a bunch of road bike maintenance parts because I like my road bikes. And simple things are sometimes way easier to just have a stash of stuff. So, especially given these troubling times of supply chain issues, turmoil within the industry, lawsuits getting flung back and forth between governments and manufacturers, and oh, we don't like the conditions that you use or that you have for your workers, and it's just like, yeah, you know what, that's fair. And you double check it, and it's just like, oh, wait, you okayed everything to get sent overseas to begin with 30, 40, 50 years ago when it came to all the manufacturing, because, oh, paying American workers was too much, using American products cost too much. And you wonder, like, why? Was it just so you could pretend to be big and be mean things to the working class folks who built your bikes? You don't want to support American labor or American businesses? Oh, you want to allow American businesses to just, uh, take their business overseas and not actually build American or anything like that? Huh. Weird. Oh, yeah, I absolutely butchered that. Pretty light. Pretty light. Back off to the top, inside. So in here, there's supposed to be a lever adjustment. Oh. Well, wouldn't you know? I have it upside down. Yep, I have it completely upside down. Cha 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 cha. Pop 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 pop. All right, let's pull this out. So what I just found out there, chap, was which way things actually go. And I did not put them in the way that they were supposed to go. So through the front on Shimano shifters, there's a little eyelet up here. Wow. And this goes for their mechanical brake calipers. And that little eyelet at the top of the lever assembly here interacts with this big ball end at the back. So how I ran everything before when I was fiddling around with this side, I'll show you on the inside as much as I can. Out the top here is a little hole. And brake cable is supposed to come through there. And you feed it through there, it comes out the top. But I didn't have the brake cable threaded through there. I had one of my derailleur cables plumbed into there. And when I pushed that cable all the way through, it popped out down there at the derailleur hanger. Not out the back where I have it fed through. So I need to flip around these two again. And I'm going to have to clean that cable. Because I threw it on the ground. So it's now all messy. Ooh, which also means I might actually have cut that brake cable too short because I didn't double check my instructions beforehand. I don't actually need that for there. That straight up there. And then wow. I'm not going to worry about those then. I am just going to try and get my brake cable shoved in as close to the bar as possible. Okay. There we go. Like that. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's underneath. Let's stick that ferrule on the back. Super quick. Boom. Wow. Boom. Is that in the right corner? Okay, lead just not going through now. Am I missing a crucial order of operations? Likely. Unstick this tape again. Do. Because I want to say I have to have the ends loose to stick them in. So, end loose. Up it out. How is it on this side? Where's the cable? Cable does not want to go in. All right. That real quick, just to hold that on. Got that pick. That one, not that one. That will work. What? Pain in the butt. So what's going on? Is pinched the hell out of the liner when I clipped it. So it's a matter of opening it back up. And that is definitely still pinched on the side. I have a feeling. Success! All right. Cable is actually clear now. Oh, cable housing is actually clear now. So just let that through there. That goes up in the back corner. And yeah, that comes out up top. So then we take our brake cable outer. Now, we can shove that up into the handlebar as tight as we can get it. And then tie that off. That's not super well taped up, but I don't need it to be super well taped up. I just need it to be there for a moment. Boom. Boom. Wow. Oh. Does that not do that? That does not do that. That says, oh, I don't need that. What about the metal one? I don't feel good leaving open elements to the end of the cable. A short 5 mil. Honestly, that's a short 5 mil. Let's go with the long ones. I like the long ones a little bit more anyway. They're a little bit more retro grouch. And by long ones, I'm just talking about key ones. Yeah, if it's in there, fine. And then when I go to do final, in a couple of days, when a few little missing parts show up, bits like that are going to get a little dab of grease in there. Wrap this up quick. And then kinda, not really, tie a knot in it. By which I mean just wrap it around your hand and then loop it 2 or 3 times around. So, hey, that's going to be a lot of cable that we're probably going to have to cut off that end. But at the same time, not really. This one is going to go much easier. Cable pulls. It's not attached to anything. All right. At least with this one, we don't have to worry about going through anything except for dropping it down into the brake. Cable end is actually open before trying to stick it through anything. And I'm also going to grab another cable right away. So here's a fun one. I bought two 5mm rolls, or not 5mm, 2 5-meter rolls of cable outer. One in 4mm and one in 5mm. And those were about $20. And then I bought 10 each road bike brake cable inners, these guys, and 10 each of shift cables, both stainless steel, and I want to say that both of those were like $30. No, it's cheaper than $30. It was like $30 for both of them. Which, mathing everything out, ends up being cheaper than just buying 2 cable kits on their own that are literally just the cables and housings, which, well, nice because you don't need all of the stuff. Also, kind of suck. Where the hell was I going with this? I don't know. My blood sugar must be getting low. What time is it? It is 8 p.m. How long have I been going for? I have been going for 2.5 hours. I think I might finish laying out this front brake, and then it will be time for food, because it takes more than just a banana to to have the energy there to get a bike built. From on the inside. Tight. Open that up. More. Thought I'd be slick. Didn't have enough there. I will be honest, a lot of this electrical tape is probably going to get wasted. Which kind of sucks, but at the same time, it's just electrical tape. I'll reuse as much of it as I can, but I'm just trying to get my stuff together, put things in roughly the same space, try and get things balanced. Okay, so that comes around through there. That's going to be that's probably going to come down a bit. How much is that? Okay, how much is that going to do the thing? I think I'm going to route that behind for now. See how that looks. Helps if you don't get tangled up with the shift cables. Then it's just going to be about right there. I'm going to go a little bit beyond that, just for a little bit more smoothness. And I still have a long enough chunk of brake cable outer to do a thing on the old touring bike when it comes time to do the thing on the old touring bike. Stay tuned for that, but that one is, that video is a ways out. Or stream, more likely. Just given ease of everything for that. Because I'll be honest, streaming is way easier than editing videos. It can also possibly get me in more trouble. We'll find out. quote unquote, next time on Dragon Ball Z. We're not done yet. Not tonight, at least. We're almost done yet. We're closing in on the end of the stream here. At least want to get my brake cables roughed in. Find out those Shimano part numbers that I am missing. If I don't have that in the box, the group set came in, which hopefully they are. That'd be nice. Let's see if I can just show them through. Can I go through? Nope, not quite yet. There's the center. I'll say this much as well, setting these brakes up compared to the old noodle levers, like the Acampis over there on the old touring bike. Those are an absolute pain to set up compared to these. This is such a breeze. New bike stuff just goes together so much easier. And I mean, yeah, I've been going for what? 5 hours in regards to this bike build. And I can't ride it yet. But I'm not trying to get it rideable super fast. I'm trying to make sure that I do it right and do it nice the first time. And because of the magic of live streams, you get to see it happen in real time. Okay. Yeah, I definitely need to shorten that cable. Not about that much. That is. We're going to grab a handful at the end here, and we're just going to zoop. There. That gets me behind where I want to cut. And if I'm not quite far enough back because I'm cutting at the end, well, it should actually maybe keep me from having to plunge out the end of it. But yeah, let's take another. How did that work again? How much did that shove that over? That shoved that way over. Okay. So yeah, we do want to take it out. 2.5 off. Mark 1 human eyeball mod 0. Sure glad I was wearing glasses. Oh, sweet. Because we didn't quite pull through quite far enough. We hadn't quite pulled through quite far enough. So I just took off the very end of the cable. But didn't have to do anything funky with plumbing out the end then. Nice. Plug that there. And because we're not all the way out yet, we can just go like that. That is still a little bit long, but at the same time, ta-da! Ooh. Run that back through. What do the car folks say when they have a hot rod of their own? Built, not bought. And it's like, you sure about that? Did you make everything yourself? Oh, you didn't. So you did buy it? You didn't build it? Very much so looking forward to getting this thing out on the road. I got that headset about right first time, but it's got to come apart, get all the grease. These are going to need more Loctite and proper adjustment for centering. But I can't do that until the bike is on the ground. Oh, nice. Can't do anything about getting the gear set up until blah, 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 blah. Let's look in here to see if I have those little doodads. If they aren't in there, I think I might have some in a different bag somewhere within my pile of bits. But I will need to go dig it out because it is probably in the bottom of the bag of bits, the pile of bits. Ooh. Shout out I forgot to give while working on all of the things that I was giving shout outs to and stuff before. Ronde Cycling. They are a New Old Stock and First Bits bike parts seller on YouTube. They are one of the folks, or one of the shops that was part supplier for this build. And I'm not hitting the derailleur just yet. I just want to see what it looks like with it all hung up. Gear ratios that I went with for this bike, unsurprisingly, given I am middle-aged, kind of disabled, and not the strongest because I am a skinny, scrawny fuck, but also with the fact that I live on top of a hill, I went with a 50-34, and I'm actually going to drop that back down again. Out with a 50-34 in front, 11-34 back, with the long cage Tiago derailleur. Those are all loose. Suppose I could put those on, but why would I put those on? Right now, at least. Keep that. Don't need any of that. That can go in the trash tonight. If you are wondering, though, what pedals I'm going to be using for this, seeing as I was talking about having gotten new shoes and everything else, well, I'll be honest when it comes to that. I am not yet comfortable rolling around on clipless pedals. So I am not going to be installing the clipless pedals just yet. Crankset bottom back kit, going green with digital manuals. Why are you saying we're going green with digital manuals and you put a paper in there? Just give me the torque specs in the box. That'd be nice. But, alright. Here we got our new Shimano bottom bracket with the fresh factory grease in there. It says do not disassemble. Cartridge, left side, right side. Pop apart. do. Where did I just bought that wrench? Where did it go? Oh, jeez. Okay. All of those bags that are empty and can go. I literally just bought that wrench. Where did I put it? Pedals that I am going to be going with, though, I am just going to be going with the MKS Sylvans that I had. There it is. I am just going to go with the MKS Sylvans that I had picked up back in January, because this is basically just going to be a run around, do whatever bike. It is not going to be a sport bike or anything like that. It's just going to be a commuter. Go down to the riverfront, watch the tugs, paint them as they go by. That sort of bike. Just until it stops, for now, not doing final torque or anything. I just want to see how she'll look. So there's not many new tools that I needed to go buy for this bike. However, which way do you go? Okay, you do go same way as the bottom bracket. All right. And yeah, just to polish things off for today, let's stick the wheels back on. Kind of see how it looks. Strip the front. There. Which side? That. That up a little bit. Grab our key. Bonk. All right. Then the back. That's nice. Brake paths are nowhere clear on target and back, and almost on target on the front. But it almost looks like a bike now. As I bonk my head tube again. Wow. Where's the balance point on this? Where is it? Spare toe strap. Boom, boom. Yeah. That is most definitely a road bike. Maybe I should have gotten it in white. Then I would have wanted to go with the silver cockpit, though. If I was going with the silver cockpit, then why would I do Tiagra? Because then I'd want to do everything silver, and then, oh, now I have to get Campagnolo. Campagnolo is a no-go on my budget unless it is used as fuck. But yeah. This is almost a bike. Let's drop it down. Come here, you. Oh, baby. So, for record, again, this bike is the medium size, if I remember correctly, off of the charts. That would be a 50. We have a warning on the top tube that says, please check the brake and always wear the protector before riding this bicycle. Gotta love all sorts of translations and stuff that pop out. So this is a 50 centimeter frame, which is their medium. They go up from there. They also go down from there. Their smallest one listed is a 47 is what they call it, I want to say. Head tubes go down to 90 and up to 180 for the absolute largest size, which I want to say is a 56 or a 58 equivalent. So they get kind of small and they get kind of tall, but they don't get as small as possible and they don't get as tall as possible, which is just typical, honestly. And scooting this out of the way, we might be able to do a little bit of a side-by-side here if you give me just a second to scooch this forward. Granted, this is not going to be final fit or anything like that. I just want to see how they stack up to each other. Side by side. Again, this one here, the CEO, is originally manufactured by Bridgestone in the mid-1970s. They had several versions in regards to equipment, but basically just Shimano 333, which was basically what became Tourney. They were rather heavy. Original equipment on this spec'd out just under 35 pounds. I ended up taking about 5-ish pounds out of it between doing wheels, tires, crankset, rear brake, and I also did seat and switch levers from the old touring bar levers where they got the little grab bar in the middle, suicide levers, to just regular hooded Diacompi brake levers. This is 37 centimeters across the hoods. Bar is bent because it's 50 years old. It is smashed in on the drops on this side, and it is smashed in on the drops on this side. So it is actually about a 32 centimeter bar on the inside, or not inside, but the ends of the hoods, and then 37 out the front of the drops, 37 here, and then just super tight and old school and way too deep. Both of these bikes are running 28C tires, and I did my best to get this dimension as close as possible between the two. So off of the bat, straight out ignoring where bottom brackets are because that's a little bit different between the two. Saddle height is right about my hip joint right here, standing next to it. And right about the same, so that's nice. Straight up. Let's throw a leg over it. It's all locked up because I don't have the brakes on it yet. That feels like it's hitting in about the same spot. Top tube is lower, that is comfier. I do not have that torqued yet. I definitely brought the reach in, so I'm not as tight out. I probably go Yep. This one is going to be in the trainer in probably a couple of days, hopefully. So we could do the final tweaks on hood position, bar position. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and pull a little bit more cable out. Maybe roll these down a little bit or roll this up a little bit, which is, something that you can't do on an integrated bar and stem. You can't fine tune. You can't fiddle. And sometimes you gotta fiddle. But this is gonna be a fun bike. Already, this is gonna be a fun bike. So thanks for those of you who watched. I'll see you again sometime soon. Maybe in a couple of days. Bye-bye now. Yes, I would like to end the stream. Goodbye. Bye. Bye.